Hi everyone, my name is Cecilia, and today I'm going to be talking about how leadership emerges in our lives as a form of art. So to start off, I want you all to think about what you see in this picture. I see two faces, but you all may see something different. In the same way we see different images, we will each have different perceptions on what leadership should look like, but today, I will paint a clear picture of how it emerges in our day-to-day lives, even at times when we least expect it. For the first few slides, I want to identify the typical stereotypes that come to mind when people generally think of a leader. For me, the first thing that comes to mind is what I call the achiever. This is a person who likes to get stuff done, hardly ever says, "It's not my job," and is willing to go the extra mile for others. Striving for excellence in anything you do is key. However, it's vital to know that this approach can lead to burnout. Leadership isn't solely about doing the work yourself, but rather setting a direction, understanding there are those around you who can help, and ultimately influencing others to achieve a common goal. The second leadership stereotype that comes to mind is what I call the fixer. This is the go-to person of an organization who seems to have all the answers, but may sometimes pose as a Mr. Know-It-All in your lectures, or in any setting for that matter. While having that knowledge is beneficial, this person's overconfidence may hinder their ability on ultimately admitting their faults. I believe that knowledge is power, and having the ability for people to rely on you for solutions may create a sense of inflated confidence. Again, leadership isn't about who's the most knowledgeable person in the room, but rather, who is the person who is willing to use that knowledge for the common good and ultimately learn from others. Finally, the most common leadership stereotype is what I call the maker. This is the person who has experience and credibility within the organization, who is charismatic, well respected by others, and can ultimately lead a team towards success. Although all excellent characteristics, past successes can lead to a loss of focus and consequently oversight within the organization. I wanted to identify the common stereotypes people associate with leadership because it always doesn't take the form of a hardworking, confident, and influential individual. Just like with any strength, with each form of leadership comes a weakness. And with each weakness comes an opportunity for another form of leadership to emerge. Now take a second and note to yourselves what you see in this picture. For me, I see multiple people within a painting who are all interconnected in some fashion. In the same way, leadership takes on many forms. One person may bring knowledge, another may be charismatic, and another may bring the influencing qualities to reach a shared goal. Leaders show up in different ways. There are those who make their presence known and those who lead by example. There are those who take responsibility and seek solutions, and those who show empathy for others. There are those who excel at communication and make impactful relationships, and those who can make those tough, challenging decisions. Just like a painting, leadership will take on many forms and with it, many expressions. To truly be a leader is not about the power or the prestige or the influence one has over others, but rather exhibiting your skills at a time when leadership is needed. These skills will be different and unique, and yet, when combined together, will create a strong, vibrant, and harmonious image. Now, for a brief moment, I want you all to reflect on your own character, your feelings, your strengths, and your weaknesses. When we're self-aware, we can increase our ability to understand ourselves, but more importantly, understand how our strengths can be leveraged within our day-to-day leadership styles. So the first question I want to ask you all is, what are your ambitions, your passions, and your goals? Really explore on who you are as a person and what motivates you to keep going. Focus on how you want your leadership style to look like in retrospect to these components. Ask yourself, what kind of leader do you want to be, and where does your passion fit in with this? The second question I want to ask yourselves is, what are your personal values and what is your organization's values? Do you value money, prestige, and significance, or do you value loyalty and commitment? What we value in life drives our passion and ultimately our behavior. See how your values line up with your organization and use this as leverage to fuel your leadership style. Finally, I want you all to ask yourselves, what are your strengths? Do you act by intuition, or do you meticulously gather information before making a decision? Are you an optimist or a pessimist? Answering these questions are key to understanding how you can leverage your leadership style. If you're gifted in communication, use that to lead. If you're gifted in knowledge, use that to bring about ideas and innovative ways of thinking. For me, my values developed from experiences I had at Purdue. As a research fellow, I developed influence and commitment to my organization. As a friend, I became open-minded to the array of languages and backgrounds of my peers. As a police department intern, I developed resourcefulness and service to my surrounding community. My core value is significance and service. Many of my experiences have given me the opportunity to make impacts in others' lives, whether that be through internships, research positions, and friendships among peers. These values line up with my organizations, which seek to provide students with meaningful opportunities to grow while encouraging such values to develop and prosper. My strengths are influence, humility, and service. I can understand what motivates others and lead a team, admit my faults and find solutions, and ultimately want to help others persevere and succeed, although sometimes I may be too hard on myself. Through reflection, I am able to recognize what I can contribute as a leader, as well as understand my limits. Our ambitions, our values, and our strengths allow for us to identify what we can all bring to the table. Not every person is going to bring about the same leadership qualities, which is why I strongly believe that with diversity and leadership comes strength. And with that strength comes opportunity. In the beginning of this presentation, I asked you all to think about what you saw in this picture. You may see more figures than previously before. In the same way, we can now recognize leadership emerges even in the most subtle ways. Just as in art, leadership will take on many forms, and although different, each has the ability to create a strong, vibrant, and harmonious image. As we conclude today's presentation, I want to encourage you all to develop your own authentic leadership style. Rather than waiting for leadership to emerge, take initiative and exhibit your skills at a time when it is needed. Leadership is not a position or a title. It's an action that is led by example. Thank you.